All right, so started the year off strong with watching the movie The Damned. All right, so I'm just going to start it off by reading the synopsis. The Damned follows a 19th century widow who is tasked with making an impossible choice when a ship sinks off the coast of her isolated fishing outpost during the middle of an especially cruel winter. With provisions running low, Eva and her close knit community must choose between rescuing the shipwreck crew and prioritizing their own survival, facing the consequences of their decision, and tormented by guilt. This is the key point right here. Tormented by guilt, the inhabitants wrestle with a mounting sense of dread and begin to believe they are all being punished for their choices. All right, now I gotta say, this film is really well done. I enjoyed it, mainly because I had not read that before watching the film. I did not know that it was all in their head. I did not know, and I'm not spoiling that. I'm not spoiling it. It's all right there. It's all written down right there. So I went into the film like, you know what? It's going to be a scary film. It's going to be the typical stuff, but it's so well done. I like the setting of it. I like how it's 19th century. It's like 1870s a point in time, and it is very well done because you feel the closeness. You know each of these characters. You like each person. I wouldn't remember all their names. I didn't even know the lead character. I know Daniel. I know Daniel was her deceased husband's best friend, and it seemed like they were developing a bond. I did not know the lead actress's name or character was Eva. I did not know that. But yeah, they witness a shipwreck. They have to leave a ton of people behind to die because they don't have enough food to feed everyone. There's no way they could all survive the winter if they saved them. And there is this old lady there who tells this story of a very well done creepypasta. I gotta say, I enjoyed that aspect when she's like telling a story. When you're getting to know the entire crew, she tells a creepypasta, and I'm like, that was well done. That was very well done. But this story is primarily about the curse of superstition because people who are overly superstitious are more likely to see ghosts where someone who isn't superstitious isn't likely to. So they did have a balance of it. They had characters who weren't superstitious in this film. They had characters who were, but they asked for forgiveness, so they believed themselves clean, so they no longer saw. And then there were some who knew that humans were the worst aspect of things. It was very well done. You had a close knit group, and you had a well diverse cast because the old lady, when everything they all witnessed the shipwrecks, and she's all, oh, you gotta tie their hands and feet in the coffin. You gotta nail their feet down. It is like, who wants to desecrate a corpse? That stuff is morbid. So of course the person that ended up having to do certain things ended up getting a fever. I mean, he was handling dead bodies, so he ended up getting a fever and going nuts. There are so many things where it's like it's a cause and effect. They're told to do one thing, and of course, the old lady's advice for when they started having nightmares over their guilt: don't sleep. You'll let the demon in. You'll let them in, and it's like it's aggravating. It's like all that stuff at the very end is just like, yeah, they're all going nuts because the main lady, the one who owned the whole place, the widower, she stopped sleeping and her pupils are always dilated. So she's starting to hallucinate. You literally see it in her eyes. There are a ton of not a ton. There are actually some subtle jump scares in this film because there isn't much fear here. There isn't much at all. I mean, there's one scene where they cut open a stomach and then guts and eels pour out of the stomach, which was gruesome. There is a jump scare of when they have Eva basically staring at one of her sleeping crew, and then it edits to an oar being slammed in the boat. So it was completely a jump scare. The subtle jumps, not really subtle jumps. I enjoyed some of the editing tricks that made you feel the suspense because she's walking at night and she hears footsteps behind her. She turns around, she sees a body, and then it slowly, and it feels like wet leather being pulled. And that sounded so well as for a body because it's a corpse that's supposed to be moving. The sounds were so well done, but it was those jumps I enjoyed, the ones that just seemed creepy. Then she runs and runs away. She runs into the building. there is a scene where she's basically, well, she's hallucinating. She's near one of her crew, her not ex-husband, her deceased husband's best friend, who had fallen because he was starting to hallucinate as well, hit his head, and she was basically laying next to his bed, and then she started to nod off, and she basically had a dream of lamps being blown out around her. And then they show her kneeling, praying, and then the corpse basically looks up, and then it edits to her waking up right next to his bed. And it's just like, I like those little nuances because it lets you know that, oh, this is where the story's heading. This is where it's heading. It's not they're being hunted by a zombie. It's their minds are taking charge. They're dealing with starvation. They don't have food. They're dealing with all this stuff. And then you find out at the very end what's going on. Something happens. She panics. And the ending is both satisfying and aggravating because she kept making choices because it was her husband's business. So she took it over when her husband died. And she kept making choices which led to more and more and more of the crew dying. Only for her to be like, you know what, let's just get out of here immediately. Only for her to snap, completely burn down her building. Spoilers, I guess. Burn down everything. And then at the very end, you get this twist ending, which I guess is spoiled in that. But you get this twist ending, and it's just like, huh, I kind of figured. But yeah, this story is really the curse of superstition. I mean, because there's nothing wrong with being superstitious, but there is the fact where it leads you down to see things that aren't there. Because one character says, oh, I keep seeing things out of the corner of my eye. And he doesn't acknowledge them. He just kept seeing them out of the corner of his eye. Everyone starts seeing things. They all start believing in things because one person's taken out. And when one person is taken out around you, everyone else is more than likely to fall in line and be like, oh, this is what's happening. This got to be the case when it's all in their own head. Because the guy even said, the one who, and I don't know why, I don't want to mention how everyone gets taken out. I guess that would be the biggest spoiler, how everyone gets taken out, because it is interesting. It is interesting because in the end, it's all in their own head. How does it lead to them, doing whatever? But yeah, superstition is incredibly... It's a double-edged sword. They're going too far into it, being surrounded in a situation like that. Superstition took them all, and that's literally the villain right there. Superstition is the villain. And it all started with that creepypasta at the beginning. That basically gave me the feeling of what was going to come forward. That creepypasta that the old lady just told. So well done, so well placed. I think that was the best jump scare in the story, her creepypasta, because it felt more natural. The other jump scares were done with editing, were done with audio, were done with visuals, and then I preferred the suspenseful kind of, rising body, raising his head as she's praying, editing to the edit to her basically waking up next to the person's bedside. Yet all those little nuances, so well done. The time and place was perfect. All they let you know is that they're in the north. They're in the north. Yeah. And the fact that it's a Spaniard's boat who basically were shipwrecked. It's their corpses that they had to bury, that they had to leave behind on the rocks as they were trying to get provisions because they were already starving. They needed provisions, so might as well raid the shipwrecked ship. Sorry, I stumbled over that one. I actually did enjoy this film. I thought it was very well done for such a small, concise type of film. I enjoyed it. They did a short, it doesn't like 2 hours long. It's like an hour and 30 minutes. It's exactly what you need for a type of suspenseful, classic, back to roots psychological horror. I guess that's what it would be. Psychological suspense. It goes back to the roots. I enjoyed it. It feels like it drags on here and there, but it does catch up to the main story of what it actually is. And the fact that you can go into it and realize what it is by the end of it without having to go in realizing what it is by what it says in the description of what this is about, because it puts emphasis on them believing, them seeing in the synopsis. It's just like, oh, so obviously it's all in their heads. Thank y'all for watching. Talk to you next time. Doodles.